Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Blair or the Illuminati and today we're going to talk about one of the smelliest MLMs, Scentsy. I've had this MLM on my radar for a while now and I figured it's about time we dug up some dirt on this fragrance company. Now, as you've heard me say in the past, when I can't find much initial research about their controversies, like I was having a problem with Scentsy for this video, it usually means something's very, very wrong. However, there's not really much information to be had, which I know is going to be very disappointing to a lot of you. Whether it's because this company is just newer or they're just not as outright scammy as others we've talked about, they're kind of hard to find info on. Sometimes companies with little to no information are just simply hiding their controversies. But let's jump right in and see what I found that Scentsy might be hiding. Scentsy was originally founded as a wickless candle company back in 2003 by Kara Egan and Colette Gunnell. A year after being founded, Orville Thompson bought the company and turned it into an MLM party plan company, which is such a shame what can happen to such an innocent business. It was so young, had so much potential, and Orville turned it into a scammy direct selling company instead. They climbed, and after a few years of being established, they really started to take off. At the year 7 mark in 2011, Scentsy's revenue hit over $500 million. And this is a pretty common thing that we see with MLMs. People jump on the bandwagon within the first couple years or so, and then the first few people to sign up make the money simply because they have more people to scam that haven't heard of it. Or, as they might say, a larger potential downline. Those few upline people are examples of how wonderful the company is and how much money someone can make. The downline grows through the roof, and that's why we see graphs like this. It's from all those Huns signing up, desperate for that chance, but little do they know, they've actually already missed their opportunity. Anyway, if you've been on my channel for a while, you probably know this and this is not new information. This is how MLMs prey on people. This is the basic, 101 business way that they do this. So I'm not really surprised to see these kinds of numbers from Scentsy either. Their recent numbers from Forbes gave me a little bit of hope that Scentsy has reached their peak though, because in 2018, apparently Scentsy only made $450 million, which, yeah, I know. Oh, only $450 million. Golly, how terrible. And, I say that as if it's a small number, obviously, but it's at least almost $100 million less than what they had earned 9 years ago. Ideally, this downward trend will continue until Scentsy's reached every Hunbot they can and people start leaving the company and then eventually they go under. One can kind of hope at least, right? Anyway, let's get back to their About Us page or their Our Story page or whatever, because it's all usually pretty sappy and dramatic, and this company is no different. They say they've grown into an international business opportunity with a culture that feels like a family. At Scentsy, I love yous are common, hugs are expected, and our biggest annual event is called a family reunion. We are passionate about what we do because in fragrance sharing, we are changing lives. I'm gonna just stop you right there. Just look, I know people like their house to smell pretty, and I do too. I'm no exception to that. But tone it down. It's not life-changing. You're an MLM. Well, I guess being an MLM is life-changing, but not the way that they're trying to make you interpret it as. The only way you're really changing lives is by not providing a sustainable living wage for your Hunbots while promising them the world and then some. But I mean, yeah, I guess that is life-changing in a way. Just, like I said, not good. Even Yankee Candle, one of the most recognizable names in the candle business, says this: "We share your passion for fragrance. It's what drives us to search the world for fresh inspiration in creating evocative, long-lasting scents that will help make your house feel like home." They're more known than you, Scentsy, but they're not saying their lemon lavender candles are changing lives. Look, I already know that Scentsy sellers are going to say that because they partner with charitable causes and their business opportunities, etc., etc., etc. And we will absolutely get into that business opportunity in just a moment here, but let's address how outspoken Scentsy is with charitable giving. Under Products for a Cause, they say that every catalog season they partner with a worthy organization on a charitable cause product. They show some of those organizations under Learn More, and that's all well and good. I'm not about to argue giving to charity, and their philanthropy does seem legitimate. So while I absolutely applaud those efforts, I don't think giving a portion of profits to charity is a good reason to support an MLM. Yankee Candle, for example, supports communities, cancer research, and the comfort of military families. White Barn candles are sold by Bath & Body Works, and their parent company, L Brand, has given $7 million during coronavirus for soap, hand sanitizer, and launched a fundraiser for Feeding America. Village Candle has also donated their candles for hurricane relief in the past. So let's not pretend that charitable giving is unique to Scentsy, a candle company. Even a good company can make a mistake, and even an MLM, a company based off of a horrible business model, can donate some of their profits. So I want to dispel that belief right away and essentially disarm the Huns that are gonna, come to me with that kind of reasoning as to why Scentsy's so good. You may think it gives you a free pass, but it doesn't. So now that we know a little bit about Scentsy, even their charitable side, what can I say? I'm trying to be unbiased here, and it is a bit hard because giving to charity, good. Being an MLM, bad. So weighing a positive with a negative just makes it neutral, I guess. Is that even right? I don't know. Is ruining people's lives a neutral thing to do because you donate a couple bucks to charity? Doesn't sound like it to me, but okay. But anyway, let's take a look at some of their products. Under their first website tab, I went to bakery scents. I'm hungry right now, so that decision spoke to me. Sorry about it. I noticed right away they've got scent bars, circles, and sprays more than anything else. The spray itself is self-explanatory. The scent circle looks like a kind of thing you'd hang in your car, and the bars are those wickless melting bars. Nothing seems super overpriced, so I'll give them that much. The bars are $6, and they're supposed to last 50 to 60 hours. Now, some reports have claimed that the scent will go away after a couple hours, and others say it can be up to 80 hours of use. A Yankee Candle brand jar candle lasts 110 to 150 hours of straight use, but that's $30, so it's no doubt Scentsy actually wins here on price by at least a few dollars, but what else do they sell and what's in them? Well, their wall diffusers are way more expensive than Bath & Body Works by $10, and their essential oils are more expensive than quite a few products on plant therapy, but cheaper than some of them since plant therapy's price depends a lot based on the oil and Scentsy's price is the same. Scentsy's lotions are about on par in items of pricing with Bath & Body Works and $2 cheaper, but they have just a bit less product as well. Overall, their beauty products seem comparable to Bath & Body Works, and their scented products and wickless candles had a good price point. So what's my problem with this company? They weren't founded by an absolute nut job. They don't have a history that involves toxic ingredients. Well, my main issue with Scentsy is buried in the root of who they are as an MLM. And that's simply a company that turns their employees into customers and into the very notorious Hunbots. So before we get into the numbers here, we're going to go over some serious truths and Hunbot moments from Scentsy. These are not examples to bash any one particular person, but to talk about their general sales techniques. This sort of defensive and even aggressive behavior applies to almost any MLM I've come across, and Scentsy is no exception. In one video from a YouTuber by the name of Emily Leah, a Scentsy distributor went after her for a video exposing Scentsy. The distributor made fun of Emily's speech. Emily explained she has dyslexia and has problems with stuttering and reading scripts in front of her camera at times. Super classy there, Scentsy. Defending your products is one thing, but attacking someone else in such a personal way is inexcusable. You can't call yourself a businesswoman, a boss babe, whatever the hell you want, and then react this way when someone has a problem with your company. Why do you have to make that personal? So how is this empowering in running your own business? I hear the rhetoric about how Huns think they own their own business all the time, but if someone else can shut you down if you don't meet their random standards for product purchasing, that doesn't really sound like a boss babe to me either. One former Scentsy Hunbot named Tiff also shared her story about the company and said that her love of the products was one of the reasons she joined. Tiff was convinced by consultants to pay more in order to have more stock. Here's what she said. At the time, I was living in a rented house with my boyfriend and baby. My boyfriend worked 60-hour weeks doing 2 jobs, and we were on some benefits to tide us over. My American upline messaged me, she's in the UK, and FaceTimed me a lot at midnight because of the time differences. She told me it would be best for me to invest in stock for my first few parties, so I had lots to show off. We didn't have much money to spare in reality, but I put through an order of 150 pounds pounds in order to have lots of products for my first party. This day came and went, and I actually thought, wow, I've sold quite a lot. But of course, the way to make real money? Recruit. Aside from the parties, Tiff was pushed to get other people involved with her business and to get her own downline started. And just remember, if you have to get people beneath you in order to make money, that is the baseline for what a pyramid scheme is. You are doomed to fail in an MLM unless you have an infinite downline, dozens of people beneath you, where you get a percentage of what they earn. While those percentages are small, when you have hundreds of thousands of Huns below you, all those little tiny percentages all add up. And that's how you get that 1% top earner in each of these MLMs. So Tiff's upline put the pressure on. It was also drummed into me that the only way I'd be successful is to recruit. They described it as paying it forward. We'd be introducing people to a wonderful product and making their lives better. They should be grateful for me and for Scentsy. I truly believed it was a good product, so I never felt guilty presenting it. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, the BITE model, the psychological model for cult manipulation, most certainly applies to MLMs, and this is a prime example. What was just a lovely little wickless candle or whatever turns into something that you should feel grateful that you're selling, and people should be grateful for introducing it to you. And if they're not grateful, then what? Does that mean they're disrespectful? Does that mean they hate you and they don't support your business? Well, emotional manipulation can do that to you, can't it? That's why, unsurprisingly, certain Huns do get extremely defensive when you critique their products in a negative way. It's because there's an emotional attachment and investment that really shouldn't be there in the first place. But that's what manipulation does, and it's not really funny, it's quite sad, honestly. The idea that this upline was telling Tiff that you're paying it forward and that people should be grateful, it's a backwards, entitled, and manipulative mentality, and I almost don't even know where to start with it. Like, if I invested in Yankee Candle for some reason, if they were like an MLM and I lost all my money, the last thing I'd want to do is tell my friends to invest and buy stock in them too. It just shows that, once again, MLMs take advantage of people that are in dire situations, and they love it. And by they, I mean the company, not the individual. The individual suffers. Tiff even says, I was told to search for people who suffered from house fires caused by candles and to reel them in using our electrical wax warmers. Tiff says it felt wrong, but she did it anyway. And if I were those people that were getting a message after my house caught on fire, I'd be pissed. What a horrible time to contact a grieving family. What if someone died in that fire? Those people just lost their home, their belongings, everything they had. And Scentsy's out here targeting them in that time of need and desperation. For those of you that don't know, I live in Colorado, and I had some friends that have lived in Colorado Springs for years, pretty much their whole lives, I think. And back in 2012 or 2013, I think it was, there was something called the Waldo Canyon Fire in Colorado Springs. And it wasn't a particularly large fire, but it came up the backside of these mountains that face into Colorado Springs. And a lot of my friends and their families and their parents and stuff, because we were kind of just out of high school at the time, they lived in these houses on the west side of that town, and that's where the fire came over and destroyed entire neighborhoods, and everything my friends had was gone. And I remember talking to my friends about how devastating that was, that they said, we're really happy we made it out, our pets made it out, we listened to the mandatory evacuations, and we left. And I remember them talking about coming back and how their high school yearbooks were burned, their clothes were gone, their bedroom, their toys, personal memories, little medals, that everything was just ash in their house. And that was it. And although I don't have firsthand experience of my own home burning down, listening to my friends and the pain that they felt and how you could hear that they would just cover everything up and say it was okay when you knew it wasn't, was one of the hardest things to hear, especially when I was living so far away, because that's when I lived in California at the time. And to hear that pain in my friends' voices was it was beyond heartbreaking. So I could not imagine some Scentsy Hun seeing that this fire happened and then trying to target those families in those neighborhoods. That's just fucking gross. But anyway, personal tangent aside, anyone who says that these companies aren't predatory is seriously deluding themselves. Tiff, unfortunately, also goes on to describe how ridiculously competitive Scentsy is, as if targeting people who have just been through devastating situations wasn't bad enough. I joined a Facebook group ran by some Scentsy directors, aka consultants who had a large downline and reached certain sales levels. It was horrible. They pretended to be supportive, but there was an awful amount of backstabbing and customer poaching. Group members would scroll through other people's friend lists and start offering products at lower prices. They also created fake email addresses, messaging consultants pretending to be prospective customers asking for wax samples and information. Why? The idea was that if they pretended to make a big order and never pay for it, then the rival consultant would lose heart and leave. When MLMs have too many Huns, even the downline turns on one another and becomes cannibalistic. It's not empowering, and it's not being a boss babe, and it's not even good business practice. Someone who owns their own business typically wouldn't do something like this. At least, no legitimate company would. There's coupons, advertising, price matching, yeah. But fake email addresses, placing a huge order, and then not paying, that's something you face consequences for. It shouldn't be part of just lol MLM drama. There's even evidence that Scentsy mishandled this too, when one woman came out with her story in 2016 about how a woman scammed her into believing she would buy $500 worth of product. Even though the user that posted this supposedly had Scentsy's owner's phone number, she didn't get a response. Not only is this disgusting how the company completely ignored her, but how she was going through chemo at the time. Money is tight when there are health issues, and real businesses should be giving back to their employees. But despite these kinds of things happening, Tiff didn't leave. Not yet, at least, as she explains her sales tactics. I'd shamefully invite people around for coffee, namely the lonely moms from my children's playgroups. This coffee was a cunning setup. I'd have my Scentsy warmers going so my house smelled lovely. People would always say how nice it smelled, and I'd say, oh, it's just my Scentsy, and then casually get into the discussion about the product and my business selling it. 9 out of 10 times of using this tactic, I'd have my new friends pull out their debit cards and make an order. Yes, the products were good. I've said before, I truly believed in them at the start. But now I've begun down this slippery slope of duping people into buying it, inviting people to my home under the guise of wanting new friends when all I actually wanted was a sale. It pains me so much to even admit that I did this, but I'm saying it because I know people still do it now. It's preying on people's good nature. As horrible as this is to read, it's also validating. For ages, MLM distributors have been fake and sneaky with their own friends and family and, of course, random people they don't even know well. To hear Tiff come right out and admit it that yes, these people will go to ridiculous extremes to make a sale is almost like a breath of fresh air, only for its honesty rather than the content. Tiff says that eventually she realized she was duping herself out of genuine friendships because she'd become more about the MLM sales than being a nice person. And moreover, Tiff eventually realized that not only was she not making money, but she was losing it. That was Tiff's eye-opening moment that led her to quit the company altogether. Of course, there's plenty of people in her position that clearly have not had that eye-opening moment yet, though I really hope they do soon. Now, here's the thing, you guys. I will be as unbiased and transparent as I can during these deep dives and say that I scoured the internet to see if any of Scentsy's products are harmful, if they're hiding something, if they've hurt anyone, all of that. Out of all the MLMs we've covered thus far on this channel, Scentsy's products are probably the best MLM product in terms of price and quality. Yes, Scentsy does sell essential oils, and we all know how oily Huns go around making some pretty ridiculous claims about how essential oils can cure everything, especially with Young Living and doTERRA. However, given the astronomical prices from MLMs and the poisons and others, I'll admit that this is one of the cleaner MLMs I've seen, although that bar is incredibly low to begin with. But again, the problem I have with Scentsy isn't about the product. It's about the company. Even though Tiff loved her waxes and scents, the company itself still screwed her over. Scentsy as a brand has treated her as dispensable and used her for her money. It doesn't matter how wonderful Tiff's house smelled when she's hundreds or thousands of dollars in debt. It doesn't matter how many scents she had for her diffuser when she couldn't pay her bills. No amount of wax melts can change that you're lying to people using them and pretending to be their friend for a quick sale. Ultimately, that's the issue I have with Scentsy, and that's the same issue I have with most MLMs. And just like all the others, there's no way to make money with Scentsy unless you scam somebody else. So now let's move on to the numbers. I'm sure most of you know where this is headed, but let's just see how abysmally low these numbers are anyway, shall we? After consultants pick their basic starter kit up for $99 or the enhanced one for $149, they can earn up to 30% commission selling Scentsy. Now that, of course, is for the top tier commissions, the very highest they'll be able to earn. Also, just as an aside here, after I pretended to pick a consultant kit up on the website after just a few clicks from joining, which is a little too close for comfort, I only saw their $99 kit, not the enhanced one. So maybe it's just $100 to join now. Not sure if maybe they're just not offering the $149 one anymore. Could be that I'm also just not special enough for it. They might be on to me. Who knows? Anyway, they've got a standard commission rate. I can see that top 30% for a fair amount of MLMs. Their income disclosure says that the number can go up to 36%, but that's with bonuses. And unfortunately, their income disclosure is pretty standard too. Hell, Scentsy could only hold onto people on the lowest tier of their pyramid for 4.5 months. Their average annual commission isn't even relevant according to their own income disclosure because people rarely stayed that long. Their maximum annual commission, the very most that someone earned in that 13,000 member group, $200. Yeah, $199.87. Their biggest member group is the next rank up. Looks like a lot of normal consultants were pressured to become certified apparently, and even then, even being certified, the average annual commission was $676. And this is with an average of almost 3 years at the company. Their maximum commission is $20,000. So I'm sure Scentsy people are looking at this saying, but look, you can earn almost $2,000 a month if you just work hard. But no, that's with the average certified consultant being there for 3 years. Those are the outliers. That average 676 is far more likely. After that, money goes up, but the amount of consultants goes way down. You know, like a pyramid. And their turnover rate is one of the most incredible I've seen in a while. They had just under 100,000 consultants in 2015, but over 42,000 of them left. Plenty of people do wake up and realize that they won't earn a dime selling these types of products, but since they've recruited so many that take their place, these MLMs keep growing and festering into the massive multi-million-dollar businesses like Herbalife and Amway. In the end, Scentsy is just another MLM that simply hasn't had their lawsuit or their day in court quite yet. Well, the only cases they've had so far involve them in the plaintiff's seat when others rebranded their product and presented it as their own. So let me reiterate this. It's not about the product. I don't care if they're the greatest smelling things on earth. I won't support an MLM. Sure, scandalous backgrounds and histories are pretty common with these types of companies, and it makes them easier to dislike, and they're obviously more interesting to talk about. Products that don't work or do more harm than good, this is all pretty standard for an MLM. But even when that's not the case, an MLM is still an MLM. They take advantage of those that work for them, turn sellers into customers, and clearly, from that income disclosure, don't give a damn about keeping people happy or even part of their team or their family. 4.5 months is how long their lowest tier stays on average. That's ridiculous. But anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing as well. If you want more content from me, including all of the second channels I'm involved with and all of my social media, links for everything, as well as my sources, will be in the description box down below. So again, thank you guys so much for making it to another video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!